The twin suns of Tovera 6 burned hot above the endless desert. The sand shimmered like gold dust and the air danced with heat. In the middle of that empty wasteland, one small human shelter stood alone, made of scrap metal and old ship parts. Inside lived Jason, old mechanic, with oil on his hands and silence in his life. He didn't have family, and he didn't want trouble. He just wanted to fix things, sell parts, and survive quietly. One morning, while checking an old signal tower, Jace picked up something strange, a distress signal buried deep under the sand. It was weak, old, and alien. Curious and needing parts for his next project, he followed the signal on his dusty hoverbike. The journey took hours, the sun cooking his back and his water running low. But then, he saw it, half buried in a dune, was a giant ship unlike anything he had ever seen. Its hull was shaped like wings, its nose long like a dragon's jaw. Then old carvings ran along its sides like ancient art, even broken. The ship looked proud. Jace blinked, stunned. This wasn't just any wreck. This was Dravani Tech, the old, dragon-like alien species from the legends. They hadn't been seen in decades. Some said they were all dead. Others said they had left the galaxy long ago. He walked slowly toward the ship. Boots sinking into the sand, the hull was scorched. But the metal still shimmered slightly, almost alive. As he touched the side, the surface grew warm. And a soft hum began to echo inside. Then a flicker like a ghost flashed in front of him. It was the hologram of a girl, tall with glowing eyes, horns on her head, and long flowing hair like fire. She looked weak, frightened, and beautiful. But in seconds, she vanished. The ship went quiet again. Jace stepped back, heart pounding. He should have turned around, gone back home, and reported the wreck to the outer colonies. But something inside him whispered, "Don't leave her." So he stayed. He entered through a torn hatch, light from his helmet cutting through the shadows inside. The ship's halls were huge and curved like a beast's ribs. Everything inside was dark, damaged, and dusty, but the design was stunning, smooth, elegant. Almost like the ship had been grown instead of built. He found the engine room, and his jaw dropped. It was a mix of crystal, wires, and alien metal, badly cracked and leaking black coolant. Whoever had flown this ship had either been in a battle or abandoned long ago. Still, Jace saw something others would have missed. Hope he could fix this, not for money. It's not for fame, but because it felt like someone had left a dying creature in the sand and walked away. He whispered, "Let's see what I can do for you, old girl," and rolled up his sleeves. He didn't know the ship was watching. Didn't know its AI still lived, weak but awake. Didn't know that somewhere across the galaxy, a sleeping princess would soon be alerted. Because the moment Jace touched that core, the ship sent out one last message. He is kind. He is helping. Come back. Jace worked on the ship for hours, sweat dripping down his neck. The heat outside was unforgiving, but the inside of the alien ship felt cooler, almost like it was breathing. Every step he took made the walls hum softly, like they were reacting to him. He wasn't scared anymore. It's just focused, curious, and strangely. ... Connected, he found the ship's main console room round, wide. It's filled with panels that no human had ever seen before. Strange symbols floated above the consoles, glowing faintly like stars. He touched one gently, and it pulsed with light. Suddenly, the room came to life, and soft alien music filled the space. A voice whispered from the walls, not in English, but in a language he didn't understand, yet somehow... He felt the meaning. The ship was sad. It had been drifting, dying, waiting. Alone, Jace sat on the floor and pulled out his old tool bag. Filled with human tech and spare wires, he had no idea how Dravani's systems worked. But machines had always spoken to him, no matter the language. Carefully, he connected a power converter from his hoverbike to the ship's energy port. There was a sharp spark, a soft click, and suddenly, soft blue glow lit the entire room. The ship shivered, like something inside had just woken up from a deep sleep. Then the voice returned. This time broken, slow, but in English, you, not Dravani, not enemy, human, kind. Jace blinked in surprise. Who are you? He asked quietly. The voice answered, ship. I am Valeth, princess. The voice trembled, weak and filled with emotion. Jace felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't just fixing a machine, he was fixing the royal ship of a Dravani princess. He stood up and said, I'm Jace, just a mechanic. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to help. The voice responded slowly, you touched the heart when others left. Jace didn't know what she meant, but he smiled softly and said, then I'll keep going. And he did. Each day he returned to the ship and repaired more systems. He cleaned wires, fixed torn cables, and patched broken crystals. And every night, the ship would softly hum like it was thankful. Sometimes when he worked late, the blue light would form into a shape, the soft, ghostly image of the princess herself. She never spoke, only watched him with glowing eyes full of sadness, and Jace, though surprised, never ran. Instead, he would talk to her while working. I think this part powers your wing drive, he'd say, wiping sweat from his brow, or your systems are old but beautiful, he'd add with a small smile. The ship began responding more clearly each day. You are gentle, not like others. Jace learned that the ship had been attacked during a war. Valeth had sealed herself in stasis to survive. The crew was gone dead or lost. And the ship had fallen to this desert moon, forgotten for years. She had waited hoping someone might help, but no one ever came. Until now, Jace didn't ask for reward or recognition. He didn't even tell anyone about the ship. This was between him and her, two broken things, trying to become whole again, but far away, on a hidden moon. The real Valeth stirred in her sleep, her eyes fluttered open as her biolink activated. The ship's soft voice reached her mind. He is repairing me, a human, but he is kind. Shall I bring him to you? Valeth didn't answer. She simply stood, her long tail curling around her feet, and for the first time in years, she smiled. The stars above the desert moon were quiet that night, but far away. In a dark chamber, hidden deep in space, something began to stir inside a silver pod. Covered with ancient Dravani symbols, a figure slowly opened her glowing eyes. Her name was Princess Valeth. She had been asleep for many years, locked in stasis after her ship was attacked and forced to crash. She should have died, but the ship, her most loyal companion, had kept her alive. It had waited, watched, and hoped, and now, finally, the ship had sent her a message. The human is healing me. He is kind. Should I call him? Valeth placed her clawed hand on the glowing wall of her pod and whispered, Show me. A screen lit up in front of her, and there he was, Jace. Simple human mechanic with rough hands and a soft heart. He was working inside her ship, cleaning damaged wires, using tools far too old for Dravani tech, yet he smiled, talked to the ship gently, and worked as if it truly mattered to him. He did not try to steal, or break, or take control. He helped because he wanted to, not because he was ordered to. Valeth watched in silence. Her golden eyes locked on the human's face. He doesn't even know who I am, she whispered. But something deep in her chest stirred something warm and strange. She had been trained as a warrior, leader, a protector of her people. She had seen humans before, mostly in war, but none had looked at her ship with such care. Create a projection, she told the ship. I want to speak to him, but not fully. Not yet. Back on Tovera 6, Jace was inside the control room, replacing a broken light core. He was tired, dusty, and hungry, but he didn't want to stop. Almost done, he whispered. Tightening a bolt, suddenly the blue lights around him shimmered. He looked up and froze. Standing in front of him was her, a soft, glowing image of a tall alien woman, part dragon, part goddess, with long flowing hair and golden eyes. She wasn't real, not solid, but her presence filled the room like thunder in the sky. Jace slowly stood, heart beating fast. He didn't run. He simply stared and said, Are you? Her. The image nodded slowly. I am Valeth, she said, her voice gentle but powerful. Princess of the Dravani. And this ship is my body and soul. Jace lowered his head out of respect. Unsure what else to do, I'm sorry, he said softly. I didn't mean to wake you. I just wanted to help. Valeth tilted her head, surprised by his humility. You are not like the others, she said. Most would steal or fear me. Why? Jace looked up at her, eyes honest and tired. Because your ship felt alive, like someone left it behind to die. I couldn't walk away from that for a moment. The projection said nothing. Then she smiled, a small, gentle smile that made Jace's chest tighten with emotion. You touched my ship, she said, and now you have touched my heart. With those words, the image faded, and the ship became silent once more. Jace stood there, unsure if it was a dream, but deep down he knew something had changed. He was no longer just a mechanic fixing an old ship. He had become part of something much bigger, something ancient, powerful, and very much alive, and somewhere in deep space. The real Princess Valeth stepped out of her stasis pod. She looked at her ship's direction and whispered, "Wait for me, Jace. I am coming." The ship was almost fully repaired now. Jace had worked for many days, sweating in the heat, speaking to the ship like it was a friend. In return, the ship had slowly come back to life. The lights were steady now. The engines no longer leaked. And the humming sound had become a calm heartbeat, but something felt different now, like the ship was preparing for something final. Jace sat in the pilot seat. Wiping oil from his hands, he looked around and sighed. Well, old girl, I think that's the last fix. The ship responded with a soft glow. Warm and peaceful, Jace smiled, but a deep sadness was growing inside him. He knew this moment was coming. He just didn't expect it to hurt. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small note. He wrote in simple handwriting, "Fly free. I hope I helped out. You'll always be special to me." Then he gently placed the note on the main console. Jace stood slowly, giving the ship one last look. "You're strong now," he whispered. "You don't need me anymore." He turned and walked toward the exit, boots echoing softly down the metal hallway. He didn't look back, but the ship watched him leave. Every step, every breath, as he stepped into the desert sunlight. The air was still and quiet. He stood on a rock nearby, eyes fixed on the ship. Then, without warning, the ship's engines began to glow with powerful blue light. There was no loud sound, no fire, no shaking of the ground, only a soft hum, like a farewell song. The ship slowly lifted from the sand, wings spreading wide like a great dragon waking from sleep. It hovered above the dunes for a few seconds, as if hesitating, then it turned its nose toward the sky and rose into the stars. Silent, graceful, and free, Jace watched until it disappeared. He didn't cry, but his chest ached. He whispered to himself, "Goodbye, princess." Then he walked back to his small home, alone once again. He spent the next days working on old machines, but nothing felt the same. Every time he picked up a tool, he remembered her voice, her image, her quiet strength, and every night he looked up at the stars, hoping maybe she would return. But days turned into weeks, and there was no sign, no message. Just the same sky, the same silence, he told himself. That's okay. I didn't fix her to get something back. I fixed her because it was right. Still, part of him wondered, had she forgotten him already? What Jace didn't know was this. Far across the stars, Princess Valeth had returned to her people. Her arrival had shocked the Dravani Empire. Many thought she was lost forever. But she said nothing of her pain or her long sleep. Instead, she asked one question. Where is the human called Jace? Her advisors were confused, even frightened. A human? They whispered. Valeth stood tall, her voice firm. He repaired my ship, gave it life, and asked for nothing in return. They warned her, "Princess, he is only human." She replied, "No. He is more." Valeth looked out across the stars, her heart filled with a strange fire that had started the moment he touched her ship. She spoke quietly. "I will return to him, not just to thank him, but to show him what he truly means to me." Weeks had passed since the ship vanished into the sky. Jace returned to his quiet life, repairing scrap and checking old signals. But his heart felt heavy. He couldn't stop thinking about her, Princess Valeth, the ghost-like image, the voice that had trusted him. He tried to forget, but every sound, every shadow reminded him of her ship's hum. The desert felt emptier now. Even the wind seemed to whisper her name. Still, he worked every day trying to move on, he told himself. She's royalty. I'm just a dessert mechanic. Of course, she didn't return, but something in the stars was changing. That night, the sky over Toverisic shifted. The stars pulsed blue, then red. A strange wind swept across the desert, and the air grew still, too still. Jace stepped out of his small shack and looked up. His eyes widened. The stars were moving now. Something was descending from the heavens. A massive ship emerged, glowing with silver light and golden wings. It was nothing like the broken dragon ship he had repaired. This one was bigger, grander, shining like a palace from the stars. Its engines made no sound. Only a soft hum that vibrated in the sand beneath his feet. The people nearby screamed and ran for cover. Some hid, others prayed, thinking the end had come, but Jace. He stood still, staring at the glowing giant above him. His heart knew, even before his mind could speak. She came back. The ship slowly lowered above the desert, and a glowing ramp unfolded. From the mist and golden lights, Princess Valeth appeared. She wore a flowing robe of black and silver, shaped like stars. Her long hair shimmered. Her dragon tail curled. Behind her gently, her golden eyes searched the desert until they locked on him. Jace, standing alone, covered in dust and confusion. He didn't move, couldn't speak. He had never felt so small and yet so seen. Valeth walked down the ramp, guards behind her, though none dared speak. Her wings folded gently as she approached him. Her steps graceful and sure, and then, before Jace could react, she stopped and bowed her head. Jace of Toverisic, she said softly, you healed what others left to die. I came to thank you. Not with words, but with presence. Jace blinked, confused. Presence. Valeth stepped closer, her voice softer now. You fixed more than a ship. You fixed me. She raised her hand, revealing a glowing jewel-deep purple, pulsing with soft energy. This is a heartstone from my family's vault. It binds a life debt, only given once in a lifetime. She offered it to him, holding it. In both hands, the guards behind her lowered their heads in shock. Jace took a shaky step back. I don't understand. I'm just a mechanic. Valeth smiled gently. You saw a broken thing and chose to care. That is rare. That is royal. She placed the stone in his hands and whispered, you are not just a human, Jace. You are my reason to return. The desert wind picked up again, carrying their words into the sky. Jace stared at the stone, then at her. His heart beat faster, but not from fear, from something deeper. Something new. He looked into her golden eyes, and finally asked, why? Me, Valeth answered with a voice like starlight, because when I was forgotten, you remembered me. When I was lost, you stayed. And now, I choose you. Jace stood in silence, staring at the glowing jewel in his hands. The heartstone pulsed softly, warm like a living heart. Its glow lit up his face as the desert wind brushed against him. He didn't know what to say. What could a desert mechanic possibly do to deserve this? The Dravani guards stood behind the princess, their eyes wide. One of them whispered. She gave him the heartstone. The sacred bond, another muttered. No outsider has ever received one. Especially not a human, but Princess Valeth paid them no mind. Her eyes were only on Jace. I offer you this as a royal vow, she said, her voice calm. Not as a gift of power, but as a bond of trust, of honor. Jace swallowed hard. I'm still unsure. I didn't ask for this, he said softly. I didn't do it for reward. Valeth smiled gently, and that is why you deserve it the most. She stepped closer, her silver robe flowing around her like mist. Then she took his rough, oil-stained hand and placed it over the jewel. Her hand was warm, elegant, and strong. Suddenly, the heartstone glowed brighter. A ring of soft light wrapped around Jace's arm. 8 symbols appeared, ancient Dravani markings glowing along his skin. He gasped, stepping back in surprise. What is this? He asked. Valeth replied calmly. The bond is complete. You are now under my protection. And I under yours. The guards bowed deeply. but their faces were filled with confusion. One of them, an older warrior, stepped forward. "Princess, this has never been done with a human," he warned. "Our council will not approve." Valeth turned her golden eyes toward him and spoke with quiet power. "Then let the council come to me. I will not explain kindness." She then looked back at Jace. "You showed honor when no one watched. You gave help when no one asked. Now you are part of my house." Jace blinked, feeling like his world had just turned upside down. "I'm part of a royal alien house." Valeth chuckled softly. "Yes, though we may need to find you better clothes for the first time in many years." Jace laughed. It was short, nervous but real. "I guess I'll need to learn some manners too," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Valeth nodded, still smiling. "We will teach each other then." She stepped aside and gestured toward her great silver ship. "Come," she said, "let me show you my world. Not as a stranger, but as a guest of my heart." Jace hesitated, looking back at his small shack, his tools, his quiet life. Everything he knew was there, but nothing ever made him feel as alive as he did now. Standing beside her, he looked at the heartstone still glowing on his wrist and nodded. "I'm ready." The ramp of the ship opened again, and together they walked up into the glowing light. The Dravani guards followed in silence, still unsure what this meant for their people, but Princess Valeth walked proudly. She had chosen, and she had no doubt, as the ship lifted off the ground. The desert below grew smaller. Jace looked through the window. Watching his old home fade away, he wasn't scared, because for the first time in his life, he wasn't walking alone. He stood beside a dragon princess, royal, powerful, and kind. And deep down, something inside him whispered, "This is only the beginning." The stars stretched out endlessly before them as the ship sailed through the quiet darkness of space. Jace stood beside Princess Valeth. Feeling a strange mix of awe and peace, he looked at her glowing eyes and thought how far from the desert he had come, not just in distance, but in heart, mind, and spirit. Valeth turned to him, her voice soft like the wind. "You saved me when I was broken," she said. "But you did not just fix my ship," Jace smiled, unsure what to say. "I just did what anyone would do," he said quietly. "But you're not like anyone I know," Valeth replied, her eyes full of warmth. For the first time, she let down. Her royal guard, her golden scales shimmered gently in the soft light of the ship. She reached out and took his hand. "It's strange," she said, "how a human like you and a Dravani princess like me can find understanding." Jace squeezed her hand back, feeling the weight of her words. "Maybe that's because we're both survivors," he said, "both lost in different ways." They stood together in silence, watching the stars pass by. Valeth's voice broke the quiet. "I want you to know. You are more than a mechanic to me. You are my partner, my equal." Jace's heart beat faster. But he kept calm. "I never thought I would belong anywhere but the desert," he said. "Now, with you, I feel like I have a home in the stars." Valeth smiled, her eyes shining bright. "This bond is not just about duty or honor," she said. "It is about trust and something deeper." Jace looked at the glowing heartstone on his wrist. "I don't fully understand it yet," he admitted. "But I want to learn." Valeth nodded. "We will learn together." The ship's soft hum surrounded them as they prepared to visit her home planet, a world filled with dragons and ancient wonders. Jace was nervous but excited. He knew his life was changing forever, and he was ready for the challenge as days passed. They shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments. Jace taught Valeth about human life, simple joys, and patience. Valeth showed him honor, courage, and the strength of her people. Together, they built a bridge between two worlds, two hearts, one evening. As the twin moons of her homeworld rose, Valeth and Jace stood on the ship's deck. She looked up at the glowing moons and said, "Thank you, Jace, for fixing more than my ship." "For fixing me?" Jace smiled, feeling the warmth of belonging. "Thank you for showing me I am worth more than I thought," he replied. And in that moment, they both understood. Their story was no longer about a broken ship or a lonely mechanic. It was about hope, friendship, and love that crossed the stars. Valeth and Jace were no longer alone. They had found each other. And in that, they had found a future. The stars shone brightly as the ship sailed on, two souls bound not by law or duty, but by a deeper promise, a promise of respect, trust, and a new beginning. And somewhere in the vast universe, the Dragon Princess and the human mechanic knew. They had healed each other in ways no one else could, and their journey was just beginning.